Yeah, that is by far the biggest change with the current version of Islandora. Like I said off the top, I've been around since it was built as a ball of yarn back in version 6, and then broken out into modules and then a core, and that was 7, and that made things much easier. But back then, Drupal was not the source of truth. And so that is the biggest change with this current version of Islandora, which has now been around for a few years now, is that Drupal, which was always part of the stack at a very high level, really became the source of truth in this current version as it was moved to the front of the stack. The Drupal open source software is at its core. And in fact, it can really be seen now, Islandora is an extension of Drupal, which means that you can extend functionality with Drupal modules, which is a massive community. And Drupal is now configuration based. So by integrating more tightly with it, Islandora inherently becomes extremely configurable. And that means that users can much more easily make changes without being a developer. There are processes that you still have to understand, so the changes persist in the software. I don't want to make it sound too easy. There is still a bit of a learning curve here, but you don't have to be a developer. And that's generally part of the training that is provided by vendors or through the open source community is how to use and continue to extend your Islandora system. The other thing is that this current version is much more flexible as a whole. It's more than a back end to store and manage your digital assets and metadata. It's also a web discovery layer, so your web presence that the general public accesses to find your objects and media and metadata. It's built with standards, so it can be integrated with other software via the OAI PMH protocol or APIs. And our hosting option here at Discovery Garden has extended preservation features like fixity and revisions, checksums, so on. So it can be used as an archive if you wish, or it can be used as all three. And that's what I'll show a few examples here a little bit later in the presentation of just going to some public sites, a handful, of how organizations have used Islandora in a very different use case. It really comes down to what you want to use it for. Today, we're going to take a tour through the software and its functionality. And again, like I mentioned, we'll look at some public sites and how they're using Islandora. So if you don't mind, I'll just dig right into the software here now. So what I will do is I will turn off my camera and I will share my screen.
John, just as you're loading that up, of course, me being the one who's invited most people here, I do know that some people are maybe a little unaware of what Drupal is exactly. Obviously, you mentioned that Islandora is built on Drupal, but just so anybody who might not be familiar, Drupal is a software framework that we use to build and manage websites. It's publicly available. A lot of people would call this type of software a content management system or CMS. It is open source. It's free for anyone to use and sort of play around with. If you go to the Drupal website, you can download it. Large community of users because it is open source. A lot of people give back to the community after developing a lot of the modules that we make at Discovery Garden. We make those open source, of course, as well, so that other people can use them. A couple of little stats on that just before John takes it away. Drupal is the 6th largest CMS that is existing in the world today, and being that it's open source and that it's free for people to use rather than a SaaS-based software, that's pretty incredible that it is the 6th largest. And some of the most heavily trafficked Drupal sites on the web include NASA, Pinterest, Harvard University, just to name a few. So there you have it.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Jonathan.